Good afternoon. This is a regular meeting of the Cameron County Commissioners Court. As we do all meetings, we'll start with an invocation by John Phillips from the Central Christian Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And let me ask Commissioner Tamayo to lead us in the pledges. Okay. John?
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you that you give to us leaders like our commissioners that are here to do what you lead them to do for the people. And I thank you for the good way that you're working through our commissioners to do the things that need to be done in our county. And Lord, I pray you'd give them wisdom, knowledge, and discernment as they work together to make this county one of the greatest counties. I thank you, Father, for their servants' heart. Bless them and their families and protect them. And bless the business of the evening. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Commissioner. The
Judge,
public comments.
If I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Comment. Well, just congratulations, not to the Aggies, but I want to congratulate some of the teams in my precinct that have done extremely well. The Rio Hondo Bobcats had a magnificent football season, reaching the 3A Division II level. Santa Rosa Warriors beat UC Randolph to advance to the state quarterfinals, and it's the first time in the school history. And the Harlingen South Hawks won an exciting game against McAllen Rowe in overtime, and they advanced to regional semifinals. So congratulations to all of them. And I know the Falcons, Commissioner Garza, also won, and Port Isabel. So we have good athletes, and the beauty of it is that they're good athletes and smart students.
Thank you. Public comment, I only have one from Mr. Ernesto de Leon.
Honorable Judge, Honorable Commissioners, thanks for allowing me here this afternoon. The ladies, thank you. Judge, your manager, no questions about it. Our Aggie, J.D. Sutton, been testing in
So he's on his way, is what I understand.
And I would like to present you with that on the beautiful shirt you got. And Commissioner, you got a lot of Aggies in your district. I think you are.
They love me anyway. All they care about is I do the roads.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. You don't know how difficult, how humbling this is. If you thought humbling was standing on street corners with a sign, this is a lot worse. But Judge Salinas called about 30 minutes ago saying he's on his way. For what reason, I do not know. But I've got a few comments I'd like to share with him when he gets here. And we could have used a 12th man on Friday. But, you know, it was a friendly bet that we had. I know there's been a lot of discussion about whether it's worth it or not. And again, I think it just demonstrates the relationship that Hidalgo County has with Cameron County. And we are working on a lot of joint projects together. And we did not bet the 50 pounds of shrimp. I wanted to, but he didn't want to do it. And for those of y'all, this did not cost Cameron County anything. I didn't even buy the shirt. JD bought the shirt for me. So but I thought it was done in good spirit. And I talked to him during the game. I think at halftime I text messaged him and told him that I was ready to wear the shirt. But on that, I told him at halftime, yeah, I tell you what, it was a good game. I enjoyed watching it, and A&M was the better team on that day, and they, you know, my hat's off to them. They did a great job, and you know, hope next year it doesn't repeat. But I'm going to save the shirt anyway, just in case. It's a one size fits all. But anyway, this was all done in good spirit, and you know, just it was something that we talked about some months back, and I feel like a dork, but...
Well, I think all of us had a lot of fun with that game. I come from a very large family, and I would say 50% are Aggies or 50 Longhorns, so it's exciting to watch the game. And it's all in good fun, and I think that's what keeps us going.
I read one of the comments in the Brownsville Herald, and they say the irony of it is that most Aggies are Republicans, and most UT grads are Democrats. So I kind of flipped around somewhere. But anyway, it was all done in good spirit, and thank you all I hope you all had fun at my expense. So,
Well,
it's all right.
you know, if you think you're in a hard position, I did my pre-pharmacy education my first 2 years at Texas A&M University at College Station, and then transferred to UT Austin. So they prepared me well to transfer over there.
But you graduated from?
But I graduated burnt orange.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Appreciate the kind thought.
The word's out that some money people from Texas gave the athletic director there at A&M money to get rid of Jones because he beat University of Texas 2 years in a row.
Well, I will tell you, A&M is one of the few schools I can actually compliment for firing the coach after beating Texas. I don't understand that, but hey, what can you do? All right. Okay, let's get on to the regular meeting. The item 2, consideration and adoption of a resolution honoring Mrs. Linda Wise Martin for the occasion of her retirement. Is she here? No. We'll try to get a message to her and have a resolution prepared for her. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge the resolution?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Presentation by Dr. Norma Farley regarding report on autopsy-related issues. Is she here? There you are.
She is.
Okay.
Have to put on my reading glasses. Well, I took over the autopsy services in mid-September, and I just wanted to come before the court, and I thank you for letting me be here. I was trying to get some information on maybe where we were with Valley Baptist, and I think maybe Arnold may have some information on that. But when I hear, we're trying to renovate the morgue so that we can move the autopsies back to this county, Cameron County at Valley Baptist, and I'm hearing that probably the sync is going to be delayed again, and it may not be till the end of February. Is that right? So it looks like February 20-something instead of January 1st, which does cause problems just because we just don't have enough room where I am now for even all of us to sit down. But we need to just keep updating and making sure, because I think until we started checking on this, because we were going to court today, Valley Baptist, hadn't checked. So we just need to make sure they move forward, because, this is kind of a little project. So I'll make sure to keep in touch and make sure that it's moving forward so that we can, possibly move back to Valley Baptist at some point. Second, I just wanted to bring up, right now, I'm not sure how the county transports bodies, but I think it transports it using maybe 4 or 5 different, companies to transport bodies over to the morgue. And it gets a little bit confusing. We don't know who's supposed to be transporting from day to day over, to McAllen. And sometimes we're trying to track down, where the body is because we have police officers in the morgue. We need some kind of better organization just with knowing that there's going to be an autopsy, that there's a body on the way to the morgue, and having the bodies tagged with identification, so we know who they are before they get there, like at the scene. Actually have the bodies tagged at the scene. Most of the other counties, they do a request for proposals where they actually have a bid, and then people kind of, try to bid for these services so that there is some competition to it, but then, of course, they are under a contract, and so that they know that what's expected, on transporting, because these are medical legal autopsies, so some of them are homicides, and so we really need to have the bodies zipped up in a body bag and locked and transported promptly over to the facility. Even on, car accidents and other traumatic accidents where there may be some disruption in blood, we need the bodies in a body bag and tagged and transported. And it's not, there doesn't seem to be a consistency with which bodies get bagged and which bodies aren't bagged, or if they're tagged or not tagged, with the names and stuff. I don't know if you want to do a request for proposal. If you're going to continue to use the people you're using now, there just needs to be some kind of organization. And maybe, I don't mind writing something up. That's what we did in Hidalgo County. They have one vendor that they did a request for proposals and went with one vendor. And then once the vendor was hired, we met with that vendor and kind of just organized how it was going to run, so that they would be tagged, that they had so many minutes to get to a scene. The county made them do that. They only have so much response time to actually go. to the scene because the police are sitting there at the scene waiting on them. And then the response time then to get it back over to the morgue, basically. At the current time, there's still confusion about Valley Baptist versus McAllen, and so they're dropping them at Valley Baptist. And then, so we've gotten smart enough to call now and find out if they're there, you know, to get them over. And then one time, I think that our morgue already had 7 bodies, so they held it at Valley Baptist. That time I knew about it. But it helps organize our day just to know what's coming, so that basically what we do is, it's how you get there is how we do them in order. And so if all of yours comes at, 10:30 and there's 3 bodies and we already had 4 in front of you, then that just pushed yours till 2 or 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and your police have already been there since 9 in the morning. And so they end up, kind of frustrated. So just some kind of organization. I don't mind putting something together and meeting with the people you have now, just so that, they know how we need to receive them, just for the medical legal purposes of testifying in court. If we pick any hairs or anything off of these homicides, we have to account that that's how the body was picked up and brought over, and it's exactly the same state it was, from the scene to our facility. And I don't know, if you want me to, I don't mind,
Commissioner Garza has been pretty much our liaison on the autopsy issue, so Commissioner, whatever
we can
whatever
get
you'd
together.
like to do, you want to get together.
The one question I have now is, when they go pick up a body now, Dr. Farley, who makes the call? The JP to the funeral home?
Sometimes it's the JP, and sometimes it may be the police at the scene if they know. The other day at South Padre Island, I think he let the house supervisor, if they make it to the hospital. But like Valley Baptist called me today, and they didn't know how to do it, who to call to bring it over, and so they called us.
It's either the law enforcement agency at the scene
or the
JP?
justice of the peace, if they know who's going to be the next in line.
Okay.
And maybe just having it so that it's so we know who's next in line. 'Cause
Right.
when we had a body at Thanksgiving, we were trying to find, I didn't even know who to call, and thank goodness South Padre Police Department knew who he thought it was, and he called the hospital, and we went that route and was able to track down where it was. But it's hard to tell who's on call, basically. Who's picking up? Some kind of sheet that tells us this week it's this one, this week it's, or this month it's this one. Something just so we know who to call when because basically what happens is the police call us and say, what time's our autopsy? And then we're like, what autopsy? And it would just help, quiet the
It
confusion.
needs to be organized.
Yeah, it
And have
needs
some
to be
kind of
organized.
system.
Some kind of system in place. And so that was the second thing I just wanted to bring up, because it's been about 2 months, and it's still just, sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. And I know with the holidays coming, it'll get disorganized again with the holidays.
I know that we did it with the JPs, and when they're at the scene, they usually know what the process is. I guess it's when it's another law enforcement agency, it becomes a little bit...
Well, they may call him, but then it's after they pick him up where the body went to.
Yeah.
Because it's not in our morgue. So then where is it? And so then we play the track down, because the police officers the other day called me in the evening, so I stayed waiting for it, and it didn't come. And then the next day I called him and said, you better track it down. It ended up it went to Valley Baptist. And there's always that confusion now, because, it used to always be done at Valley Baptist. So there is a transition, but maybe if we could just meet with all the different agencies, sit down, and I don't know if we have a contract, if the county has a contract with them for their services, or not.
No.
With the law enforcement agencies? Is that what you're talking about?
No, with the transport.
No, with
The
the
transport?
transport.
I don't think we have a
No.
contract.
Okay.
So the ones that are transporting are the actual funeral agencies?
Well, who calls the transport?
That's
That's
when
what I'd like to know. This,
Judge Muniz probably knows, J.P. Muniz.
When you get to the scene, we'll call the funeral home, or the agency already called, the county or DPS already called them. And then once we get there, we do our paperwork, and we go order an autopsy, we give it to them, and they move it.
okay. But how do you know which one to call? Just
We
because
don't.
of the...
If Pete got somebody that he wants to call as far as their family, they call them. The funeral home come out there.
Okay.
But we'll give them the paperwork. When we leave, we give them the paperwork. Okay, we're going to order an autopsy on X number, X person here. We give them the paperwork, and they transport it.
Okay.
But if there's no autopsy needed, but they request us to go out there anyway, we'll take our information on time and death and all that stuff. So when the funeral home asks us what time the person died, we'll give them the time and the place where they passed away. Okay, they're going to be registered with the horns and vitals. because they died in the Harlingen area. They died out San Riondo in Combs area. It goes to me, because I'm the registered in that area. Okay? Or anywhere else where they're, Camarito, Harlingen, everybody's got different deals they go. Okay. But we have the information prior to, okay, Pete's gonna call, he wants the, John Doe's funeral home, because they already got something with him, agreement. But we got the information, okay, Dr. Fardo no need for an autopsy, Dr. so-and-so is gonna sign off on the death certificate. That's all we run to.
When an autopsy is ordered is the only time that the county pays for the transport, right?
That's right.
Okay. So it's only when an autopsy is going to be ordered.
That's correct.
And that's a process that you want actually in writing.
Yeah.
Or some kind of organization, too.
Right.
'Cause like you said, see, it's just kind of, oh, they'll call this one because it's that county, but unfortunately, we don't know which funeral homes
Right.
in which area.
No, I see your
Or
point.
if the family
Around Darrell, I
wants
know.
a particular
The family
one,
wants to take the
you know.
Mhm.
And if we had a contracted service, you call one.
And that's
that-
it.
And then
Yeah.
that would be, you know, they're responsible for transport.
Right, and then you can say, like in Hidalgo, where it's like you've got this much time to get to these different areas in the county, and they'll really clock them. I mean, because the police don't want to be there any longer than they have to, so once the JP's done, they're ready to go. And so that makes it faster. Now, if you still wanted to contract with a group, I think Houston does that, Harris County does that. You can still do that. The group just comes together and bids together, and that's fine, you know.
Just so that's down in writing and that everybody
Well,
knows.
and then you have one number to call.
Yeah.
Right, they'll have
You
a
know.
pager,
In a certain
and that's
area.
the person you
That's
call,
it.
over and over again, the
Yeah.
same, and then the police too.
Yeah.
When we shifted the transport from Valley Baptist to McAllen, Dilvia did put out a contract agreement together for the fees that were going to be charged for transportation, not necessarily who it was. And
But it was like
it was
blanketed
a
for
blanket
everyone.
contract for
Right.
fees on
For any-
transportation service. So we have a contract for that. You know, we don't have a specific.
Well, we have a contract that establishes the rates,
Yes.
but we
But
don't have a
that's all.
contract with any specific
No.
provider. And Doctor, that's what that's what, if I glean what you're saying, if you want to suggest that we do that, you know, if we get with Commissioner Garza, and maybe let us look at what you have with Hidalgo County, with that RFP. Now, let me ask you, would it make sense to do it even though we're anticipating going over to Valley Baptist sometime in February?
Yes,
It still would, right?
It's still.
Right, and different
It's
fees
still
for
needed.
different facilities. And you could say this much if it's going all the way to McAllen, and this fee if it goes to Valley Baptist.
Let's do that.
And then again, if there's certain people, because it might be too much of a burden maybe on one funeral home, you know, to do this, they could break it. 4 of them could bid together.
When y'all drafted the RFP for Hidalgo, did you give them that option? It can be one funeral home or a consortium or a partnership?
No, they didn't.
You may want to consider that when you're doing this one.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll bring
but
it to the commission for
Bring it to the
approval.
commission
Okay.
and
Mhm.
for decision.
Okay.
And that way, if there's a group that wants to do it, because I notice maybe 4 that come all the time, if those 4 want to do it, they could just get together, put the proposal in, have an on-call pager, and you're done. And they
We'll
can
get-
continue to do it.
We can get that, and we'll have a meeting and visit with you, make sure that the RFP is what we want, and then bring it to the commission for approval.
Okay, great.
Okay?
And you'll be calling that meeting, Commissioner?
Yeah,
I was gonna
we'll
say
take care of
that.
it.
The last thing was, just to bring up, is that I wanted to know if we were still considering, or maybe considering the medical investigator, the medical death investigator, which would be someone in the county. It's in the statutes that the Justice of the Peace could have an investigator that kind of does some of this work for him on these autopsy cases. Basically, that person could go to the scene and actually, you know, talk to the police officer, he writes a report up, he talks to family members, he's like an extra investigator at the scene that gathers, you know, the police are mainly looking for foul play, where he's actually looking more for the cause of death, getting doctors' names, medications, any history. Sometimes the family even tell them they had chest pain, grabbed the chest, fell over. Because on those cases, many times, they don't even need to come to autopsy. They could actually just, you know, go. You know, if the investigator actually investigated, then told the Justice of the Peace or told myself, you know, I talked to the Justice of the Peace or that person talked to the Justice of the Peace, and a death certificate could just be issued without having to do an autopsy or what we call in older people, sometimes we'll do an external examination when they have a long history of, you know, some kind of heart problems. Basically, we look at the outside and make sure no foul play has taken place, didn't fall, hit his head, and then we can release the body. With the number of people we get from out of state in the winter, it does bog down the morgue sometimes because all of their doctors are in another state and they can't sign the death certificate. So it puts a lot of stress on the JPs as well because they end up doing, I would think, you do more death certificates in the winter because we have more of the winter Texans. They may have a long history of diabetes and hypertension, but their doctor can't sign the death certificate. So one of the big roles here would be the medical investigator would be looking at the history, getting the name of the doctor in the other state, and then I can just talk to that doctor, get the history, and convey it to the JP who can, without an autopsy, just put out the case. It saves you the cost of the autopsy, the fee for coming over, the fee for the morgue. So, you're looking at probably $1,800 or something. I mean, it's a large amount of money. And I just looked at the last year and the year before I started doing them. In 2005, a different doctor was doing the autopsies at Valley Baptist, probably 80% of them. And that year they did 310 cases and 87 externals. And then I took over in 2006, and I used our autopsy technician, Arnold, to call the family and try to get some of this history, like a little investigator. And that year we were able, 2006, we cut the cases back to 271. So 39 cases just didn't even come in. And then we had an extra 18 externals, which means that's less money too. We don't do a full tox. They're in and out of the morgue within, an hour or two, and back to the family and then back to wherever they're from. The total savings for what you're paying now, if you paid the Valley Baptist what they wanted for morgue fees, your transportation, and my fee on those 39 cases ends up being $78,000. I mean, it's a lot of money because we do toxicology and then the morgue fee, the fee for transporting, you start adding all these fees up. It ends up being a lot of money. And just for the externals, it was another $10,000 that we saved that year. So it's kind of, you'd have to pay the extra salary for the investigator, but if you could get rid of that many cases like we did last year and keep it down to 270, you're going to save yourself $90,000 a month. So that's something I wanted to just put out there and let you think about and see if it's worth it. I know...
Would that be a full-time job?
Yes, it would. They usually actually go to scenes, and just like a CSI, just like your TV shows. They go to the scene, and they investigate the scene. They take photographs of the body. They type a small report up. They discuss the case with the JP. And if it is a homicide, we actually have a report right when we come to work that day of the events. Before the police even get there, we kind of know. And we have photos for a change that we can look at and see how the body was and the circumstances that they saw when they got to the scene. It does speed things up a little bit, but for the justice of the peace, it frees up a lot of their time because they're in court, and so this person would be doing the investigation for them and getting all this information and then just relaying it back to them later in the day.
We still be out in the scene, and when you get out there, we're going, both of us be out there and look at the information and compile it, put it together, and let's go this way, go this way. But it'll alleviate a lot of problems with everybody. Once you get winter Texans, they pass away here, they got insurance or whatever, you don't order something, how come you didn't order an autopsy or a ghost examination?
I know that Pete and David were looking at possibilities for funding, at least partially this year, finding some funds to see where we could fund a position from so that we could proceed with bringing to the court a job description and those things.
Yeah,
so that we could. And they're already looking at it. They've talked to
That's what I was going to
Javier.
ask.
Yeah, there's a website that goes in great detail. Unfortunately, I printed it, and it printed all day. I didn't realize how much information was in there. But it goes into great detail about what they do and what they're expected of. And there's even courses in it and handbook of what they should know and what they should be doing. But it would help your county. This county seems to get more winter Texans even than Hidalgo County. You have a lot of winter Texans here. And in the winter, especially in the winter, it would really help with just finding the doctor. It was amazing how easy it was once you talk to the widow, or they usually know the phone number, who to call, and it's just basically me calling up and talking to the physician. They'll fax down the information so we have it. And then on some of those cases, that's just a review of the record and can be gone. I don't charge for that. It leaves. Because it's less paperwork for me. I don't have to dictate, read my report, sign it out, collect blood, all that.
So you have that process already going, Pete?
So I thought I'd bring it up now and let you think about it, see what you think.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any members of the audience who want to address part of this issue?
Good evening, Commissioners, Committee Judge. My name is Albert Vega. I'm a director and owner of Tomei Garza Funeral Home. We been working with Ceballos Funeral Home and Dr. Farley and transporting human remains to Ceballos Funeral Home. I've been working by getting calls by the JPs to go out to the scenes or the Sheriff Department or local officials. The problem that we're having is that when we receive a call from the judge or the Sheriff Department, we call Ceballos Funeral Home. We let them know we're on the way to go transport a human remains to their facility. And sometimes they can't accommodate us, so we have to transfer the human remains to Valley Baptist. And Dr. Farley usually on that letter, she doesn't perform autopsies on Saturday and Sunday, so we get another call Saturday and Sunday, so we have all family members waiting for the loved ones to be autopsy. So most of the remains, usually in the weekends, it occurs where we transport them to Valley Baptist because Ceballos cannot accommodate it because their facilities are full. So that's pretty much the issue that we're having right now with the Ceballos Funeral Home, where they really can't accommodate the local funeral homes where an autopsy needs to be performed by Dr. Farley. And then Monday morning, we receive a call from Dr. Farley's office requesting for us to transport, going back to Valley Baptist, receiving the human remains and then transporting back to Ceballos Funeral Home. So we had to actually make two calls because Ceballos cannot accommodate the independent or the firms that go out and transport their loved ones, the human remains to the autopsy center in Ceballos. So I think my request is we need to go back to Valley Baptist as soon as we can, that way we can avoid the transportation problem that we're having right now. So, and I gave you all a letter stating that it shows there from Ceballos Funeral Home that they don't do any autopsies on the weekends. It's only being performed Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments from, yes, sir?
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. My name is Juan Sierra. I'm also a local mortician. I know that you have some documentation as to the fees that are being charged to the county. If push comes to shove, you all may want to entertain the cost involved between these 5 groups that Dr. Farley was referring to, 5 to 4 groups, and individual funeral homes. When we're making calls, we're asked to respond immediately to these calls, and we try our very best to do so. Like Albert mentioned, there's been times where we've been instructed to take the deceased over to Valley Baptist on a weekend, and first thing Monday morning, we're rushing to get back to Hidalgo County to deliver for these autopsies. But again, in the future, maybe you could entertain allowing funeral homes to participate in bringing you, say, a proposal as to how much they're going to charge versus these 5 organizations.
Wouldn't that be, or could that be addressed during the proposal process, though? I mean, are you going to have any? I think we would. I mean, it's going to be very competitive, and I tell you what, you all do earn your money.
Yes, sir.
There's no doubt. But I think that the way to do it, I think, is the way Dr. Farley's recommending that they do in Hidalgo County with, going out and soliciting a group, a consortium of folks to be able to take care of that.
But that would be just Hidalgo County?
No. I think we're just going to use the proposal that Dr. Farley developed for Hidalgo County as a template. We're going to adjust it and modify it to address our needs.
It'd be a draft.
So we have that right to present that to you then, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, until we get the proposal, at least a draft of it, I think I welcome your input. And I think it might be important that we, during this process, that we include some of the JPs and maybe some of the funeral directors, but it's got to be open to everybody. So,
yes, sir.
So no one gets the impression that we're, trying to select somebody. I think it should be an open process, and
yes,
certainly y'all are welcome to participate in it.
Great. Well,
okay.
Those were my comments. Thank you for your attention.
Any other comments from any member of the audience? Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge? Dr. Farley, have you concluded your remarks?
I think that's it. And I just want to stress again, if the morgue is full, it's fine to go to Valley Baptist, but the weekend he's talking about, the morgue was not full. Those 3 bodies, we only have 1 body. Those 3 bodies were our day. And we started at 10 o'clock because the bodies got there at 9:35. And, you know, see, if we had them at 8, we have 2 doctors just sitting there doing nothing, you know. I understand it's easier to go to Valley Baptist, and I think the first body they called in the middle of the night, but the other 2 bodies were over there. I had no idea they were there until Sunday when Arnold called me and told me there were 3 bodies there. It just, you know, puts us off gear. We need to know our body count, basically, because I hire extra help when we get really busy so they can all get done on the same day. And he's right, I'm closed on Saturday and Sunday, just like Corpus Christi, because I'm really the only person here. So I work pretty hard all week to about 7 or 8 in the evening, but on the weekends, if it's an emergency, I come in.
It's nice to be needed.
Dr.
Yeah.
Farley, let me ask you a question, please. Receiving the bodies, there's nothing on this document that I was given about receiving bodies at the funeral home in McAllen as it stands now. They receive them at whatever time they're taken?
Yes, and if they don't, I need to know that they're not, because we have a 15-body cooler and another 3-body cooler, and one weekend we were full, which I said we had like 8. We were really full, but usually we're not, and right now we have enough to hold another 8. If we do overflow, we have a hospital in McAllen that will store the bodies for us there in McAllen as well. One of the hospitals there had said they would store bodies for us.
Okay.
So Valley Baptist is an option, but they still need to call Ceballos and just give them a heads up. Oh, there's 3 of them over at Valley Baptist. You know, make sure they're here by 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Okay?
That's where the organization comes in.
It's just for organization.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Thank
Farley.
you so much for letting me.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge Dr. Farley's
moved.
report? Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatz. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. I noticed my friend walked in, but let me get...
We'll make sure and get together next week, Dr. Farley, and we'll go over the proposal, and then hopefully bring to the court 2 weeks from today the proposals on both the RFP and the investigator position. And the investigator position, I think I need to mention it, I haven't mentioned before, is something that is statutorily done by statute through the JP's offices, right? Yeah. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Let me
Farley.
get let me get the consent and travel items out of the way, and then before we go into executive session, I'd like to introduce Judge Salinas from our neighboring county, Hidalgo. Are there any consent items? Are there any items any member of the court wish to take out of order to discuss separately, along with the travel items? Hearing none and sensing none, do I hear a motion to approve consent items 4 through 7 and travel items 8A through 8D? Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? Please note my abstention on item number 5 regarding interlocal agreement between Cameron County and the Brownsville Public Utilities Board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Before we go into executive session, Judge Salinas, welcome to Cameron County.
My apologies for being late, Judge.
I'm sorry?
My apologies for being late.
I'm not surprised, but go ahead.
Perfect.
We waited for you.
Traffic is bad, and that's another reason we're here. Wanted to make sure that the shirt, you got it properly, and to make sure it fit right.
I got it.
I heard there was comments about the shirt not fitting you right.
Well, it fit me big, but
I
it's
know,
all right.
I know, Mr. Leon. Well, you're a big man. You know?
Yeah, right.
Mr. Leon, my good Aggie friend, was here to making sure that the shirt fits you and the cap, make sure you got it. Well, with all sincerity, thanks for having me here. I want y'all to consider we're trying to get the counties, South Texas, to pass resolutions to
keep Dennis Franchone as your coach or what?
No, to get, in all sincerity, to get the levies fixed as compared to investing into a border wall or fence. So I know you're going to get a draft resolution. Lanisha has it.
Yeah.
I'd like for y'all to consider that.
Judge,
I
think we've
Did y'all do that
already
already?
done
I
that.
believe we've done a resolution.
Okay, this is a little bit more specific to what
Okay.
we
Just get
went
it
to
to us and we'll
Washington
take a look
DC
at it.
about.
Sure, absolutely.
And I was interviewed today by Channel 4 and Channel 5 about our bet, and I agree with you that I think this is more about working together in Hidalgo County. And one perfect example is what you were just talking about here, just before I got up here, is that we need to build a regional morgue, and I know Commissioner Garza and yourselves have been working on it, and we need to make sure to work together and save taxpayers' money, and we stand ready to work together on that, so we can make sure and get a better place to live. But thank you for living up to the bed.
Well, I will tell you that little did I know how much we could have used a 12th man on Friday. So there's a lot of merit to this 12th man deal.
Well, for 364 days of the year, we love Longhorns.
And I owe you lunch.
Yeah, and you do owe me lunch, and I want to remind you of that.
We'll do that.
But in all sincerity, we're here to work together, and I just wanted to.
Well, I want to thank
hope
your staff, too.
we continue working together.
Well, we will. I mean, it's. I will tell you that we have a Sooner over there, and I'm going to be rooting for Missouri on Saturday. But no, I think that this. I want to thank Laura for kind of running with the story a little bit, and I thought it was a good story. I think it developed a lot more camaraderie, and I don't think people realize the positive relationship that this county has with your county now, and we're working on a lot of stuff together, which is good.
Congratulations, your Brownsville Herald has done a great job in the story. Unfortunately, the Monitor has not picked up on it, but we appreciate the Brownsville Herald.
There you go.
Calling us, and it is a lot more than the Aggies and Longhorns, Republicans and Democrats. It's about us working together, just like we did with the hurricane or any other issue. We need to start working together for the taxpayers. So.
I want to say something that I heard Aggies say all the time. Wait till next year.
That's why I'm here and making sure I take advantage of this 360-some days.
That's right.
Because, be honest, we don't know how long it'll last.
No, I know.
Well,
thank you very much.
You've got a new coach, so.
We do have a new coach. Mike Sherman, who was a coach when I was there at Texas A&M, so we'll see what he does. If you don't mind, we'll take a picture with you. Do you mind if I approach the bench?
How are you going to approach
I know how.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Who's going to wear the cap?
We're very...
Judge, are you going to wear the cap?
Can you imagine?
I don't mean to interrupt you.
He's got a good-looking tie on. Make sure and get a picture of the tie.
I told you guys I would be here today.
Yeah, they do. They call.
You're missing the commissioner. Commissioner Wood doing okay?
Yeah, as far as I know.
It's in Budapest, I guess so.
A ver si no le hacen
With the flag, too?
Soon we're going to have a long day.
I feel like I'm getting married or something.
David, you need to be divorced, David.
Georgia did fit him, Mr. Leon.
You look like you'd make a good Aggie, man, Yeah.
What?
Oscar Dancy.
Oh. All right. Okay, do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, seconded by Commissioner Gatsa. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carried. To discuss the following items. Item A, deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 3 for right-of-way of the Dixieland Road project pursuant to Code Section 551.072. Item B, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning possible lawsuit against Mark Becerra pursuant to Code Section 551.0711A. Item C, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning a claim of Timothy R. Floyd for discussion and possible settlement pursuant to Code Section 551.0711A and B. Lastly, item D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Attorney General's opinion number GA 0578 and concerning status of the litigation with regard to the creation and funding of the 444th and 445th Judicial Courts on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter pursuant to Code Section 551.0711A and 2. We'll be back.
Open session.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Tamayo. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. We're out of executive session. Item A, deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 3 for right-of-way. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge the payment of $1,708? Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item B, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning possible lawsuit against Mark Becerra. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge report of counsel? Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item C, Confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning a claim of Timothy R. Floyd. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge report of counsel?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning the Attorney General's opinion and the status of the litigation in regards to the creation of the funding for the 444th and 445th Judicial Courts. Mr. Burris, would you like to read that motion?
Move to authorize the filing of a petition for declaratory and injunctive relief concerning the 444th and 445th District Courts in Travis County by Cameron County Civil Attorneys and by the Allison and Bass Law Firm as co-counsels.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 11, budget amendments, line item transfers, and/or salary schedules.
Judge and Commissioners, I did place an additional one on your desk. It has the juvenile boot camp budget amendments. The rest are there. I believe there's individuals from juvenile here. Constable Precinct 4, I don't see him. That was the first one on the list. I know the courts wanted the departments to make the presentations to the court, so I don't see the constable here, so I'm not sure if you want to.
Was that your request or his request?
That was his request.
And they've all been informed to do that, am I correct?
Yes, and I sent them an email yesterday reminding them. So.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second by Commissioner Benavides? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Javier, just as you notify the elected officials on these budget amendments, the only time it becomes really an issue is if there's going to be questions, and I just think that the question should be answered by the elected official, department head that is making the request, and not focus on you doing it. So if there's no questions, they don't need to be here. But if there's a question and they're not here, then I think the item should be tabled until the next time.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Item 12, approval of county claims.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides. Does that include the ones that were passed
The
out
ones that
also,
came
right?
in today.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Please note my abstentions on the two affidavits regarding public, the PUB and Harlingen Water Works.
And I turned in an affidavit on warrant number 00191-676.
Item 13, consideration possible action regarding the 2007-2008 law enforcement vehicle equipment list.
Judge and Commissioners, I had emailed a revised list to you earlier today. If you didn't receive it, I did pass it out. There was just some additional items that were included, which was for Constable Precinct 4 and for Precinct 7. This is a list of the total equipment requested for the law enforcement vehicles, only because there is a timeline for ordering of the patrol cars. That's why this one is.
There's also a change in Precinct 2, right?
Yes, 2 and 7.
2 and 7.
You said 4.
Oh, I apologize. It's 2 and 7.
2 and 7, okay.
I also included as backup a listing for the constables of the current inventory of the vehicles that they have, and the sheriff's office had submitted the listing of the vehicles that they're wishing to replace. There is a request from constables precinct 2, 4, and 7 that have 2006 Dodge pickups that are asking for those to be replaced. They are here. Constable Diaz was here.
2001?
2006. Normally they wouldn't be eligible for replacement, but I guess they wanted to address the court in reference to the reason for the replacement. And also Constables Precinct 5 is requesting, on the original request was for 3 pickups Lieutenant Barajas has said they'd like to amend that to one pickup truck. The list of their current vehicles is attached with the most recent mileage. The only vehicle that they have of age would be a 2000 Crown Victoria. The mileage on it listed there was the last time that it was logged in at vehicle maintenance, but the current mileage is 52,000 miles instead of 39,000, and they're asking for that one to be replaced.
Javier, if we can just, if we just go one by one. Yeah, let me just.
The other one, okay, down the list.
Let's start off with, just in the order that they're at, let's start off with Constable Precinct 2. On the second page, the 2003 Crown Victoria of 131,000, that's the mileage that they have. Are they looking to trade that item in for one of the new vehicles?
Correct.
Okay.
And they're also requesting to replace the 2006 Dodge.
And why they want to replace the Dodge, if they just got it?
Actually, I guess they're all requesting the pickups for the same reason, and from Constable Precinct 7, they can address that issue.
Okay. Now, just out of curiosity, has anyone looked at what the trade-in value is going to be on these vehicles?
We sell them at auction.
Okay.
County auction annually.
Okay, and I mean, did you look at trading, I mean, if you're looking at giving up a $19,000, well, I'm sorry, that's the mileage. Okay.
Auction, it'll be,
Yeah, it depends on the condition. They range anywhere between, I believe, 2,500 to 4,000 or 5,000, rightly, that we get, depending on the condition and, you know, how active the bidders are.
Okay, well, let's go back and just, I'm just trying to find out why the need to trade in the 4x4 pickup, the Dodge.
Judge, Commissioners, good afternoon. My name is Santos Sanchez. I'm the Lieutenant at the Constable's Office at Precinct 7. I'm here representing Constable Diaz. And one of the reasons that we wanted to change the Dodge is because of a safety issue with the vehicle. We understand it's not a pursuit vehicle, but it's still a safety issue. The truck does not have an anti-lock brake system. I myself was involved in an incident with the vehicle where the tires do lock up, and this wasn't at an excessive speed. If we're driving in a mist, in rain, you know, it doesn't perform the same way as an anti-lock brake system. Now the vehicle is currently used by the constable. He is on, 24 hours. If he gets a call, he gets up and he goes wherever he needs to, and really, it just comes down to the vehicle being a danger if it can't come to a stop safely, and that's one of the reasons. So one of the main reasons that the constable wishes to exchange it or to, I think we even talked that maybe we can pass it over to another department that doesn't use it as we would within the constable's office.
Well, let me ask you, and again, I'm not pointing at you, I'm just going to point at the whole situation.
Okay.
Why weren't those considerations given back in 2006 when the vehicle was purchased? Wasn't it a part of the bid specs that had to have all these safety features? And I don't think that passing another department is the answer either, but
Right.
but I just think that, why are we talking about this less than a year later? And why it wasn't considered back then when we bought the vehicle, Lee?
yeah.
Lee?
Your Honor, Commissioners, it was on the specs as an ABS system, but Dodge came out with ABS systems only on 2 wheels instead of 4. So we did change it back last year to submit a 4-wheel ABS system. Dodge came around, yes, it does have the ABS system, only on the 2 rear wheels, which makes the vehicle a lot lighter.
Well, but if I'll say we, but if we knew that back then, didn't anybody think about, it was a potential, did anybody talk to the law enforcement guys to make sure that it was not a potential safety issue?
Yes.
And if you did, then why didn't you send it back and do it, get another vehicle that was safe? I guess I'm a little confused to why it was okay to buy it then, and now we're saying less than a year later, we want another vehicle because of all these safety issues. Why did not we consider the safety issues a year ago? That's my question.
Well, to me, my understanding is they've been told it is not a pursuit vehicle, it's not, and a lot of them would come back to say that, no, the constable's going to use it you know, he'll know what.
Well, then my question
Not
goes back to the
pickup.
constables then. I mean, if the constables were told that these are not pursuit vehicles, then why did they accept them and just said, you know what, if not, first of all, I don't think anybody should be pursuing anybody in a 4x4 pickup truck, okay?
Well,
That's just, I mean, DPS doesn't do that. But I'm just trying to think that y'all, I mean, why was it okay back then and it's not okay now? I mean, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
figure that out.
Before the pickup trucks or any vehicle is put out for bid, the specs are drawn up by the purchasing department in conjunction with that particular department, and then the department head or elected official signs off on it that it's ready and okay to go out for bid. It's signed off by them, it's signed off by Mr. Lozano, and sometimes they even ask me to sign off on it.
So everybody-
before it goes out to bid, it is signed off on.
Everybody signed off saying it was
Right,
fine.
that they agree to that particular vehicle, whether it's a service body truck or,
Well,
you know.
Mr. Lozano, how many of that type of vehicle do we have in the fleet today?
Only 3, I believe.
3 of them?
Well, actually, we've got more Dodges in the fleet,
No, but the 4x4 Dodge,
4 doors.
The
four-door
one that
with,
has its
with only, you know, in the constables, or the sheriff, for that matter. Does the sheriff have any of those?
Yeah, the sheriff has 2, but they're, Javier Reina, I believe himself, drives one, and hasn't had any trouble with it, you know. But being that they're different, like he uses them on the investigation division, which is not a, you know, a hot pursuit
Yeah,
vehicle.
but when, you know, I remember the constables coming before us in the past saying that they wanted a vehicle to traverse some of the dirt roads, some of the unimproved roads that they couldn't get into, that were not gonna be used as pursuit vehicles, and all of a sudden, I mean, you don't go pursue somebody in a 4x4.
Well,
I'm
you
certainly
can't,
not-
you're not gonna catch
Yeah,
them.
but you can.
Yeah,
But
no, you-
I'm certainly not in favor of transferring it to another department. That is out of the question as far as I'm concerned. I'm a little disturbed that it was accepted then, and then, I mean, what has it hasn't even been a year, has it?
No, it hasn't been.
No. We did get with Mike Forbes this week on it, in reference to, well, back then also, that the trucks did meet the specs when we did receive them, brand new. It did include the ABS system, but it only, on the specs, we didn't specify 2 wheels or 4 wheels. So it's just that ABS system. So a Dodge came around and just put ABS system on 2 wheels, which is in the back part of the vehicle. You know, so which make it to control it so it don't spin on them when on a braking situation.
I think if one constable has the issue, then every single law enforcement vehicle that we have that meets that criteria is gonna have the same issues.
Judge, let me go back to, maybe the word's not, it's not pursuit, it's more of a responding to an emergency call. Now, the trucks are issued with lights, they've got the siren, they're used as emergency vehicles. It's not so much, you know, pursuing, it's responding to a call. And
Constable, whether it's pursuing or high speed or trying to get to a site of a crime scene quickly, I mean, to me, that's all semantics. But I think the issue here that, for me anyway, is that why were they okay less than a year ago, and today you want to, you know, and I'm not saying, again, it's not you.
No, right.
But they're asking for a brand-new model that we just got less than a year ago. That's my concern, because it's, you know, y'all should have thought about this a year ago, you know, and I don't know if maybe there was no opportunity, maybe somebody didn't understand, I don't know.
And again, it was a request and
Yeah, I know, yeah, I told you, I'm not trying to aim it at you, but I mean,
correct.
it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that, you know, a few months or a year ago, that this vehicle was okay, and now y'all want, you know, new and improved because of this. I mean, I think Commissioner Gatsa related a good point that when we were told, well, I wasn't here, but when they were told about what these vehicles were for, it was for a specific use, and one of those was not trying to get to an accident scene doing 75, 80 miles an hour. I mean, I don't know. That's not the reason. I'm not saying we can't look at this maybe in the future, but as of now, I've got a problem with that at this point.
You know, and that's why I think that we were convinced that every constable should have minimally, if they requested, 1 4x4 vehicle.
Correct.
And that was to get the areas that they normally, a car would not go to.
Dirt roads and
Okay.
so on, which we have a lot of.
And pretty much everyone, maybe except for 5, has a 4x4 vehicle. You know, but it was not to be like a pursuit vehicle or it was going to be used more for a different type of emergency, one that was muddy.
Right.
You know.
Constable Wilmes, do you have anything to add?
Well, from the argument that I've heard, I think they've pretty much touched base on everything, and I understand what the judge says, but I think that, at least for my department, it's a unique situation, because how are we going to critique these vehicles if we've never put these vehicles to use? How can we know what the outcome of this particular vehicle is going to be, how the performance is going to rate, if we don't have those vehicles to compare?
Well, but that argument would fit any time you buy a piece of equipment or a vehicle. How do we know how they're going to perform? I mean, the only thing that we can do is you know, follow the bid specs. I mean, I think y'all were I hope you were involved in developing the bid specs. This is what we wanted. This is what we got. You're right. I mean, don't have the opportunity to test drive, but I think we have to follow those bid specs. I will tell you that, I mean, we can look at it from my perspective. I think we can look at it next year on that, and just don't do these hot pursuits. I mean, those vehicles were not, and even if you get another brand new 4x4, I don't think they're built for that type of activity. I mean, to go out and try to get, you know, driving them 80 miles an hour or 75 or whatever it is. Those are just my thoughts. I mean, and I don't know where the list is going to pan out in the end. I'm sure we're all going to have some comments about it. On the patrol vehicle, I think I don't have a problem with the patrol vehicle. I think that one's got 131,000 miles on it. My Bronco has 160,000 miles on it, but I don't do what you all do. I think that one is ready to be rotated out, and I don't have a problem supporting that one. On the 4x4, I'd kind of want to defer that at least for another year and see what happens with this particular vehicle.
Well, we'd like to ask that you seriously consider it. I mean, as you can see, I've got even a 2003 vehicle that we still have even up to this year. So we're not trying to get a new vehicle just because we want a new vehicle. If we're trying to request a vehicle changed because we've only had it 1 year, and there's more than one department requesting the same thing, there's obviously some type of liability or danger or concern that we have because of this particular vehicle.
Well, and it should have been obvious last year, but I think if we do one, then we got to do them all. Okay, so we're not just doing just one. We'd have to do every single one, every single constable that's requesting a new 4x4 for the same reason. And we're not talking about one, we're talking about 4, 5, or 6, excluding the sheriff's office. I don't know what they're asking for just yet. I mean, that's my only, if it was just you, okay, we might be able to do that, but...
We're looking at 8.
Yeah, we're looking at 8 vehicles to do.
Is there any other agencies, and I haven't looked, but is there any other agencies, maybe Public Works, that would be able to put these vehicles to use?
Well, I'm sure they could be put to use, but again, I think you mentioned, I mean, if they're unsafe for you, I would assume they're going to be unsafe for somebody else, even though your type of use is different. But then what we're doing is we're actually, instead of salvaging anything and trading them or whatever, these are outright purchases. Now we're talking about $175,000 worth of equipment just on those vehicles alone, with no salvage value or no trade-in possibilities at all. And I don't know if Public Works is asking for any vehicles, Pete. I haven't seen that list. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it. You know, and again, I'm not saying that you're trying to do anything like that. I'm just saying, you know, those vehicles, regardless of what type it is, I just have a problem in them being used for that kind of high speed or pursuit or trying to get to a scene quickly. That's my only concern. I mean, I just don't, you know, when I see other troopers on there, they're not using those 4x4s, you know, to drive at that speed. But let's see how it pans out. I mean, I don't know, but again, my concern to the court is going to be, you do one, you got to do them all. That's it. So we're talking 8.
You're referring to the 2003? You've got some...
I have a Crown Victoria that's a 2003.
Yeah.
And I would
that I'm trying to have replaced.
I would have no problem supporting that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think there's a consensus, at least on that one.
Yeah.
Right, Commissioner? You know, of replacing that one, because that one is old. I think on the other one, let's see how this whole list pans out, and then just see where we are with it. Because we have a lot of requests here, and there's only so much money that we're going to be able to do. Okay?
Well, we understand. We just
I know, you
At
asked me.
least we have to try, because if something
That's right.
happens and one of our officers is involved in an accident, you know, we don't want to have to stand here and explain to you why we never came here and said something.
No, and
We want to get ahead of this
Right.
for our officer safety, for the public safety, for everybody's safety. What I've done personally is use a vehicle for civil process purposes only. But even in those situations, when you have an officer requesting backup, I mean, you can't say, well, my truck isn't equipped for that. You have to respond.
Well, but I tell you what I think what you've done now is basically you've put everybody on notice that you know that high-speed pursuits are not safe, okay? So if they go off and do it, they're doing it at their own peril. I mean, you're telling everybody, hey, these trucks are not built for that, they don't want to do this. So if somebody goes off and does it, for whatever reason, they know that they shouldn't be doing it. So you've kind of let us know and everybody else know, and we're not disagreeing that they are safe. That's not the issue. The issue is you know they're not safe at high speeds. Well, then you know what? You just don't drive high speed. I mean, between 70 miles an hour and 50 miles an hour, you may be talking a 5-minute difference. And I don't know what the time is, but I think you'll have to do your best until we figure out what we're going to do with this.
Well, we're trying.
I understand, Constable. I know that.
That's the issue. But even at a regular speed, there's still safety concerns. Even at 70 miles an hour on the expressway, you may still not be able to avoid an accident. And all we want to do is, we're trying to get them replaced for those concerns, but we're trying to get here and explain to you our problems with it. And if you find that we can't do it, we can't do it. I understand.
But you know, the way you're coming across, telling us about these vehicles, how on earth did you all recommend them?
I didn't want a Dodge. I wanted a Ford, but it wasn't up to me. I don't know how the bid process works. It's your end.
Lee, do you want to address how that occurred? I mean...
Yes, sir. We get the departments, each department that it requests to see whether it's a van or truck, you know, sign off of it, I sign off of it.
Did the constable sign off on that Dodge?
Yes.
Okay.
And the specs are brought to Commissioner's Court also. Yes, they did sign on the specs, and the specs are brought to Commissioner's Court also. So we don't come back and say that, how come this department got a nice SUV or, you know, or a big truck and the other one got a small truck. Mike Forbes is sending it back to Commissioner's Court to have that signed over.
Lee,
But
has there been a bulletin issued, a safety bulletin by Chrysler Motor or Dodge Motor, whoever it is, in regards to
No.
the safety of these vehicles?
No, sir.
I mean, I've read literally hundreds of bulletins in regards to the safety of Ford Crown Victorias.
Yes.
Okay, hundreds of them.
Yes.
And I have not seen you come before us requesting that we quit utilizing that vehicle that has documented evidence by many different safety groups,
Right.
you know, around of potential problems with that vehicle.
Yes,
And this one, you have not, to this day, received one bulletin that there's a problem with it.
no, sir. And even on the Crown Vics, there have been where they catch fire.
No, I'm talking about,
on the
I'm talking about the 4x4s.
Right.
You have not had a single bulletin from Chrysler Motor saying that you've got
No, sir.
safety issues with those
No.
vehicles?
We had one of the Constable Dodge pickups come in for service. We send it in for a dealer because it was a warranty issue, and they check everything. Once the vehicle goes into the dealer, whether it's Arlington, Brownsville, whatever dealer taking it, I automatically run the VIN number. They will call me or call the department letting them know that there is a recall or something, and there's nothing.
But there has no been recalls
No, sir,
up to
there has
this
not
day?
been no recall.
No safety bulletins issued to
No.
this day?
That is
So
they
then
know.
where is this concern coming from?
From the constables themselves, because they've experienced the braking system.
Okay, now, has someone had an accident?
Not so far, thank God.
No.
Well, keep doing whatever you're doing and you won't have an accident. I mean, I think you need to be aware. I mean, if we had all the money in the world, we could do this, but I'm thinking of so many other departments that, you know, they don't have, and I go back to Public Works, we've got equipment that some of our employees are using, and Pete, you know this, that are much older than that, and it's important work too. We just don't have enough money to get you everything you want. And I don't know, you know, who was it that I'd like to know who brought it up first. which constable brought up, or did everybody one morning say, we're really having problems with this vehicle? Is there one person that had trouble with it, or had a near accident, or?
I think it was a series of incidents that we all started discussing, and we all started commenting about our experiences with the vehicle, and I think we all pretty much decided, you know what, this is our concern, and we need to address this. But if you don't have the money, there's nothing we can say to convince you. I mean, we understand, but we have to try.
No, it's not a matter of you
and address the issue.
convincing us, it's a matter of, you know, there's a lot of priorities out there, and of course I want you safe. You know, we want all of our employees safe.
Do you have, do these patrol cars have a special police packet?
Yes.
That you did? Does this have a police package in it?
No, sir, not on the pickups.
Was it available?
No, the pickups don't have a police package.
No,
No, they started
on the pickups.
coming out this year on the Fords. that went out.
So it was not available either?
No, sir, but when we go to specs, we don't specify that we want a Ford or we want a Chevy, we want a Dodge. We go out for spec, we go out to bid, you know, to the purchasing department, and whatever comes back, whether it's the local dealer here within the county, or it's, we get vehicles from Corpus, Austin, we get vehicles also.
So we have to take whatever brand of car they sell us, that's it, or pickup or whatever?
The purchasing department goes as long as it meets the specs, you know, or the author's office, you know.
Now, you
So
mentioned,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. You mentioned the fact that this is not what you wanted. I don't remember you saying that.
Excuse me?
Well, within the requests that are submitted, the equipment, most times, the departments will put Ford, you know, F-150 or Chevy or something, but unless the court authorizes purchase through some state contract or interlocal agreement, we can't do that. I mean, they do the specs, and then they put it out for bid, and as long as they meet specs,
Okay.
the lowest bidder wins.
I got you.
know, by state purchasing.
Okay.
But they may put on what their request is for a Ford F-150 or something like that, but that's not necessarily what they're going
Well,
to see.
I would find it very difficult to support replacing every one of those vehicles, based on the fact that there's not one safety recall, not one safety bulletin put out that you've told us, you know, you can experience your own experience in a vehicle as to how it brakes or stops, and I would just suggest that it be used in a method is what it's used for. You know, it's a 4x4, it's used slow speeds, it's got a higher center of gravity, you can't make turns as fast. I mean, everyone knows that process, you know. I mean, but I could not support replacing all those vehicles with other needs that exist.
Let me ask a question. This is kind of a little bit off the subject, but do our law enforcement officers take driving classes in terms of, you know, like you know, like on tracks or, you know, defensive? Where do y'all take that?
At the county airport.
At the county airport?
And there's 4x4 classes that
Yes, John Frizzell from the safety
does those.
does four-wheel drive trucks also, plus the units.
And they are not issued until a person does their course.
Goes to the course,
something.
yes.
Right.
Okay. All right.
I have another question, Lee. What is the possibility, like next time that we go out for bids, what is the possibility of having those department heads that are going to get replacements, of them being able to test drive those vehicles before we actually buy them?
Well, the only thing there is that we won't know really what we get during the bidding, whether it's a Ford or a Chevy. You know, a lot of times we get vehicles from Austin, we get, you know, even from Austin, we've been able to get vehicles delivered to here.
But is there a way to test drive them at a local dealership?
At a local dealership too?
Or they
where
don't
you
carry
would
those
know?
types of vehicles?
For law
Yeah,
enforcement,
sometimes.
it'd be pretty hard, though.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right there.
I know that you asked a minute ago, why did this question not come up, or you don't remember hearing me make the request. I didn't make it directly to the Commissioners Court, but I do remember speaking to Lee about it, and it didn't go further because I was basically told that we don't have a choice. We get what...
The specs are the specs.
Yeah.
I know we had a situation not too long ago in which we had a Ford Focus and a Chevrolet Cobalt bid out by the DA's office. And they wanted a particular car,
Oh, yeah.
but You know, your purchasing process does not allow for that to occur. I mean, you can't say, let me give you $200 and give me the Ford, even if you pull them out of your pocket. That is not allowed by the purchasing process that we have.
But I think what you can do would be during the bid process, when you're out soliciting bids for these vehicles, maybe part of the bid process should be, this vehicle should be able to, let's take the four-wheel drives as an example. Part of the bid process, this four-wheel drive vehicle should have and be very descriptive in your 4x4 anti-lock system and be able to drive it 80 miles an hour without the chances of something happening. Well, you're not going to get that. No one's going to bid because no one's going to guarantee that. It's all up to the driver, basically. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Any other questions?
Well, thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Constable.
Thank you.
So there's a consensus to approve the, I guess, the patrol car and not the 4x4. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Constable Precinct 3?
I don't see him here. The request is to replace the 2003 Crown Victoria with 154,000 miles.
Does anybody have any
another
problem
Crown
with that?
Victoria, with another car.
Right. Anybody have any problem with that? No?
I don't have
Okay. That's okay. What about the light bar? Well, all that stuff, that should be part of the
deal.
package, right?
Well, they don't take it out from one and put it in another? I mean, like
Well,
most of them?
the 2003 probably has the old style light bars, I believe. Last year? This year?
Well, you know what? Why don't you just check it out, and if
Yeah.
it's something that we can transfer to the other vehicle, we can do it. If not, then we'll just get them the package. What about this toll box for the pickup? What is that?
Oh, that's supposed to be a toolbox, I apologize. But that's for a pickup that he already has in stock, or on hand. not in stock.
Okay, so everybody okay with that?
Yes. Where are you seeing that?
That's on Constable Precinct 3, first page.
Oh, okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So what you're going to do, you're going to check to see if the lights and the siren, all that works in the new vehicle. If it does, then we don't have to spend the $29.15. If it doesn't, then let's go ahead and do that. Is that all right with everybody?
Yep.
Okay. Constable Precinct 4, the same thing with the,
He was also asking for the Dodge pickup, so I imagine that's...
well, but let's look at 4, because that's a 2003 model.
2003.
Actually, there's two of them. The 2003 Ford, he is asking to be replaced, and the 2006 Dodge.
No.
There's only one on the list that I have.
Me too.
Oh, I
Yeah.
apologize.
So we'll go with the 2003.
Well, because he was asking for a patrol car and a pickup truck.
So we want to replace the 2003
Correct.
Ford pickup, yes.
He had both a pickup and a patrol car requesting, and the two to be replaced, one was the 2006 and the 2003 pickup truck.
I don't have the am I saying this right? I don't have the 2006, do you?
Yeah. Dodge
Just the
4x4.
second one.
Replacement?
The
A
second one.
replacement?
Well,
second one.
can we just,
Oh, I
Precinct
see.
4.
Why don't we do
That
the-
one's already off by
is there any, let me ask you, is there any opposition to replacing the 2003
And 3.
Ford 4x4?
You know, that only has 73,000.
Or you want,
Yeah, well,
you don't want to do it?
I thought he was going to be here, but that's the one that they burned the transmission.
I would not do
Yeah,
anything.
that one had a motor and transmission replaced, prior to this,
Well, I'll tell you, why don't we do this? On that one, why don't we just table it, since he's not here to address us?
Let me ask
Why don't you table it? Okay.
Yeah. Can I ask Lee, on that Ford, you just replaced the engine and the transmission?
What
no,
was
maybe
it?
about a year or so ago.
So it doesn't have very many miles on it?
No, not
The new engine,
no,
new
the
transmission.
mileage is off the vehicle itself, not the motor.
Right, but not on the, so it's a fairly new, mechanically
So-
sound vehicle?
Right.
So that mileage is just total?
Total
Right.
odometer.
So we don't
reading.
even need anything.
Okay, y'all wanna, is there a consensus to table the, Constable Precinct 4 request?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Table that one, and he can come back and he can visit with us on that one later. Constable Precinct 5,
There is Lieutenant Barajas from Constable Precinct 5, as I mentioned.
okay, you're not recommending a replacement because it's only got 39,000 miles on it?
Well, that was the last one that Vehicle Maintenance had. It actually has 52,000 miles on it. And, you know, it is low mileage. It is a 2000, but it only has
Yeah, but
52,000
that's
miles on
nothing.
it. So
You know?
I'll leave it to the...
Let me ask you, hey Constable, on On the light bar and cage and all that, that one was related to the 4x4, correct? What about the radio? What's the 3 radios?
To the 4x4. There's 3 4x4s. So if Dodge gets a bid, we'll bring that one back.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to replace anything.
Okay. Yeah, I just put what y'all
Okay.
submitted.
Yeah.
I had everything.
Well, are
We can still use the same radio.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and the radio.
The additions, the light bar, the radio and all that, is that related to the acquisition of these new vehicles? In other words, if you buy the new vehicle, you gotta buy all of that?
That's what the request was.
We can still use the same radio from the 2000 unit.
Do they work? The radios work, or do y'all need an upgrade? I mean, I'm trying to figure that out.
No, because what we usually do, we pass on the unit down to Judge Sally's warrants officer. And the unit we passed down to them was not really that good. So we're going to pass down that 2000 unit to them, and so we get a truck, because we don't have a truck. We've never had a truck. 2 years ago, we almost got a truck, but we didn't get the truck. 4x4, I mean.
And why do you need a truck now?
We've never had one, sir.
I know, but why do you need it now?
Well, the council was saying, it was like for lowland areas, or when we get, for hurricanes, and Harlingen usually gets flooded when it rains, when it gets strong rains.
But you're asking for 3?
No, we just want one. We made a mistake on that.
And we're talking about, oh, there's a mistake then? Is that what you're
I
saying?
think we need to table it.
Yeah, let's table it.
Is there
Okay.
a mistake on this?
Table.
Instead of
Yeah.
it's only one?
That's what was submitted. They've since changed.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, I think there's a consensus to table that, maybe have the constable come back and talk to us about it. Okay? Okay, so we're gonna table the,
Precinct 5.
Table everything.
the precinct 5 request, okay. Precinct 6, the 4x4, that's the same thing?
No, actually, the request, and there is a deputy from Precinct 6 requesting a 4x4 pickup truck, and I believe to replace a 2004
Crown Vic?
with 102,000 miles.
I don't have any problem with that.
I don't want to have any more 4x4 in the fleet.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, I think we ought to do away with
Yeah.
4x4s, totally, in my opinion.
Because that's what
I
they've been
think if we're gonna-
complaining about.
I mean, here we are, we're issuing these vehicles, and, we're already being told that there's potential liability associated with driving them in emergency situations, and I think we need to just, make a determination as to whether we're gonna have that type of vehicle in the fleet or not.
Well, I'll tell you, a determination was made, I don't know, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, everybody was gonna have a 4x4 to get into the muddy areas, but,
Right, but here we are, we're replacing a Crown Victoria with a 4x4. I mean, if we're gonna replace it, at least replace it with a Ford truck,
with another Crown,
4x4.
or with a Crown,
Or if you're
another,
gonna- Yeah.
Something else other than what they're telling us are a problem.
But
okay, then,
ultimately, the whole idea was that you all needed to get into areas that were maybe muddy or hard to get into, right?
That's correct.
So we would be defeating that purpose, Judge. I mean,
The reason we're requesting that pickup, we run 3 different shifts, just like most departments, and we have, we'd like to have one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in every shift. Just a replacement of that vehicle.
I don't have a problem with, we're either gonna eliminate all the 4x4s and then undo what was done 3 or 4 years ago. All of a sudden, I don't know what's changed. I don't know why the court decided to do it whenever they did it, now they want to
Well, that's
change.
what they
I don't know.
wanted.
Well,
I mean, when we went to 4x4s, I remember
They had-
distinctly, we need 4x4s
Yeah.
to go into the dirt roads, to go into the mud,
In
to
the
have a
rural
vehicle in
areas.
case of high water, et cetera, not as a pursuit vehicle.
That's correct.
Okay? And I think we tried to accommodate that request. But I don't think that I want to put more of that vehicle on the road if it's going to be a concern to them, because we've already been alerted of a potential liability. I think we need to...
I understand. Well, whatever you want to do, doesn't matter to me. But I think that let me ask you, because you're asking for a 4x4 and you're replacing the Crown Vic with a 4x4.
That's
Is
correct.
that what you want to do? If you don't get the 4x4, because that would give you 3 of them. 3 4x4s. Correct? If you don't get the 4x4, would you still want to replace the Crown Vic with another patrol car?
That's correct. We would settle for that.
Okay, so
I believe the truck didn't have to be a 4x4 as far as what the constable told me. He just wanted a pickup truck, another pickup truck. Also for those areas of the county that the patrol car cannot get through.
Would you have a
They're
problem
so
just
low.
giving them a pickup truck? Or do you just want to go just to a patrol vehicle?
Well, they do
Well,
have...
they already have 2 4x4s, right?
They want to have 3.
They,
I would have a problem not giving them the 4x4s if they didn't have any, okay?
Okay, so why don't y'all settle for, if you don't need a patrol vehicle, then don't ask for it. But but this one, according to this, got 102,000 miles on it.
Yeah, then
That one probably needs to be replaced, so why don't we do
Now
the...
it's got a little bit more, it's got 105.
has patrol vehicles with a lot more miles than that are on the road.
Yep, and they're probably
I
going to be
believe
asking
so,
for a
right?
whole bunch of cars.
Serena?
Yeah,
Lots of cars.
and they're going to be asking to replace all of them, too, according to this list.
Yeah, that's just the replacement.
I know. You know, and let me ask you, Lee, do we have a policy whereby we rotate vehicles every X amount of miles or years? I thought we had one somewhere, but maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Right, probably unofficial. On the constables, it was approved through Commissioner's Court some years back, I believe, that when they started coming out with the pickups, that at least each precinct had one pickup, for floods.
For that type of
and so forth.
situation.
Yeah, that was,
That requested it, okay? 'Cause
Yeah,
some
right,
did not
they requested
request
it,
it.
right.
okay?
And also on the mileage that's here, by the time they go out for bids and we actually receive them,
They
they're
put on a lot.
like 6
Yeah.
months. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to add mileage to that.
that's a good point.
Okay, so on Constable Precinct 6, what do y'all want to do? I think that the 4x4 pickup is out, so let's forget about that. But what do you want to do in terms, do you want to go ahead and just defer until next year, or do you want to give them a new patrol car?
I don't have a problem replacing
The patrol car.
Okay, well then why don't
Go
we do
with a
that?
patrol car.
No, here they know.
Let's do, we will replace the patrol car.
Mhm.
With a car?
with a car.
With a car.
So we're going to be replacing the 2004 Crown Vic with 102,000 miles on it, correct?
Right.
Okay? All right. Okay. Constable Precinct 7.
Three.
Well, we're not going to replace the Dodge.
And he was asking, yeah, he's asking to replace of course not the Dodge, but the two 2003s, and he had been requesting one 4x4 pickup truck and one patrol car to replace those two vehicles, 2003.
I don't have a problem with the two
Yeah.
patrol cars.
But
Okay.
with
But,
patrol cars?
Patrol
The-
cars
the
With
patrol-
patrol
replaced
cars.
with patrol cars,
With
right?
patrol
It's
cars.
2003.
I don't know about you.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
having two patrol cars.
Fine.
The
Okay,
bottom
so
two.
we're replacing the bottom two,
2003.
Mhm.
right, the
With
two
patrol cars.
Keeping the
2003,
2003.
right, with two patrol cars,
Yeah.
okay?
Now the big one.
Javier, next time that we do this, do you mind putting the name to the constable?
Oh, okay.
You don't mind?
I prefer not knowing who they are. I don't want to know.
That way they just blanket. I
That's
mean, We're
right.
not picking on a constable or another constable, we're just,
Just leaving it like that?
just,
Okay.
what's good for one is good for the
Okay.
other.
So-and-so,
Leave it
yeah,
like
If it's good for Lupe, it's good for Merced or
right.
Frank or.
Well, some of them have probably more rural areas than others.
I
so-
guess I just
Yeah.
have trouble
That's the point.
identifying by number only.
Yeah.
That he didn't need them.
And Captain Reina from the Sheriff's Office is here.
Well, yeah, and that's fine.
Oh.
Let's make sure that we have a consensus,
Okay, on the
at
other
least
one.
on the constables,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
As I understand it, on Constable Precinct 2, one patrol vehicle.
Correct,
On Precinct 3, one patrol vehicle with accessories,
correct.
assuming that the
If
light bar,
necessary.
all that
If
stuff, okay?
necessary.
On Constable Precinct 4 and 5,
Tabled.
those two were tabled,
Correct.
okay? On Precinct 6, one patrol vehicle.
Correct.
On precinct 7,
Two
two
patrol.
patrol vehicles.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now let's go to the sheriff's department's
Which is
Christmas
five-
list.
5 Crown Vics.
Right, okay.
Yeah, their request is for 15 patrol vehicles and 5 pickups, 4x4 pickup trucks.
4x4.
Well, you know what our thoughts are on the 4x4s. But let's talk about all the vehicles that we are replacing, because they all have a lot of mileage on them, I think.
Yeah, they do.
No, Javier, let me ask you, well,
Yes, sir.
ex-Javier, let me ask you, if you do the math real quick, if we do what we've said we're gonna do already, and we add all the vehicles with accessories to the sheriff's office, excluding the 4x4s, do we stay within the budget that we need to be staying, or how far off are we?
If you'll recall, a few weeks ago, I came to the court.
Right.
And mentioned that for next fiscal year, no matter what you add, as far as our finance on the equipment list, is going to require additional funding next fiscal year. The only thing that we had available was about $23,000 in the general fund.
Okay.
Which, over 3 years, that's like 2 vehicles and that's it.
Well,
So
but
anything we're adding is.
Yeah, but
is gonna
this
take
wouldn't take
additional
effect until the 08-09 fiscal year,
Correct,
right?
correct.
So what would be available then?
Whatever we want to
He
budget.
doesn't know.
Right.
Whatever we want to
There's-
say.
Taking the budget as it is now.
And then see what's
I
left,
mean,
I
the
don't know.
idea is to use the budget we have now to pay off that debt.
Correct.
Usually, you want
There's stuff coming
to
off.
get rid of things that are coming off.
Right. But
What
there-
would be available?
There is
For
there is
next year.
nothing. There is nothing.
For the,
That's
for the
what I
08,
mentioned.
no, and that's what I'm saying, we need to know what that, once we develop this, what our annual commitment is going to be.
Correct. On this list, if this list had been approved in its entirety, financed over 3 years, would have been an additional $417,000 requirements. Or,
Okay.
funding from the general fund or from the tax rate.
Okay.
For the total list.
And that's all new.
New, yes.
Well, keep in mind as we're going through this, that we're going to have, in all likelihood, at least one court to fund, and quite possibly 2 courts to fund.
And the drug impact court.
Okay? So, we may have to increase the tax rate, the half penny that we did, and even then, that may not be enough. It's only $600,000, $700,000, so,
Gives you one court.
yeah, it gives you one court. Well, yeah. So, as we're going through this, I mean, this is all subject to availability of funds. Now, if we do a 5-year plan, we're only talking $300,000.
Correct. But as you see on some of these vehicles, they're not lasting 5 years.
You're right.
So,
Okay? All right.
so.
Okay, so let's talk about all the vehicles for the sheriff's office.
Well, on this list, the newest vehicle is a 2004.
There's a bunch of them.
They have 2001, 2002, and look at the mileage on them. I'm comparing with what some of the other figures we had.
And also, on most cases, you can't just base yourself on the mileage. You also have to base yourself on the road conditions that these vehicles travel in also, and the terrain that we travel in. We're not the highway patrol. Sometimes we're on the street. Sometimes from 1 minute to the next, we're on the Caliche, or we're going down El Ranchito to the back roads trying to get to the river. So
I think what the
that's
commissioner
also
is saying
taken
is
into
that you have a lot of mileage
Yeah, you
on these
have-
vehicles, so it's a plus for
Yeah,
you.
it's a plus. I'm not-
No, and also I just wanted
But
just to-
but at the same point,
just to
you have
keep
to
in mind-
realize that some of the constables, it varies as
Yeah.
to their area, and some of them have a lot of rural area also.
Like I said, I wasn't questioning Commissioner Tamayo at all. I was just throwing in
Yeah,
my
and
2
most of the
cents in
sheriff's
there
deputies are,
about the-
pretty much, these vehicles are used 24/7, whereas constables, maybe 18 hours a day versus 24 hours a day. So there's going to be a lot more mileage. Well, the problem now is, how many do we want to do and how much do we want to commit for the 08-09 year? Okay. All right.
Also, I heard your concerns about the pickup trucks. The pickup trucks that we have requested here for 5 are not for the patrol division. They were for the criminal investigations division. That's what we wanted the pickups for.
But why do you need 4x4s? That's always, well, why do you need 4x4s to do CID?
Well,
You never know where you're gonna end up.
exactly. We never know where we're going to end up. We respond to calls at the beach to pick up bodies, or sometimes we have a crime scene where, you know, we're not in, we're no longer in a drought. We get a lot of rain every time, this time of year and stuff like that. We go through muddy crime scenes and stuff like that, and we need these type of vehicles to get to where we need to go, especially our investigations division. We have right now 5, I think we have Intrepids and Impalas that we need to get rid of, and they're well over 130,000 miles on those vehicles. They're 2002s, and we wanted to trade these off and get 5 pickup trucks for the investigations division. Now, we do have 5 in the patrol division that are marked with lights and sirens. We're okay with that. You know, we use those trucks when we need to get to areas in a hurry, or when we're responding to emergency calls where vehicles are not cannot get through. So.
Questions? Well, I think hold on, I'm trying to do it real quick. Javier, do you have a calculator you want to? What do you think? Well, no, I'm just trying to figure out how much we're looking at here. To add or what?
Well, no, we haven't gotten to that one yet.
What do you want to add? Well, I'm adding it. You're looking for 15 patrol cars.
Yes, sir.
You're looking for 5 pickup trucks, right?
Yes, sir.
And also, Commissioner, just for your knowledge, the 5 pickup trucks, we purchased about 5, 6, 7, 8 vehicles that we pursued grants for. We didn't come we came to you all for approval to purchase those vehicles, but the monies came from state and federal grants that we applied for. We're coming to you asking for these 5 pickup trucks for use in our criminal investigations division, and, you know, the patrol cars that we normally request for. Just some food for thought there. And second, Judge, that shirt looks very nice on you. All right.
Ya perdiste los carros.
No, you selective hearing.
Well,
They need to be
I
cars.
think, look, I
didn't hear?
think that Javier is, even if we knocked off, I mean, I'm just adding up real quick here, doing what we did with the constables and adding all the police vehicles, we're about $450,000. Okay, so the payout on that is going to be about $45,000 to $50,000. No, more than that. More than that. It's going to be like $100,000. Okay, so, right, about $100,000. It doesn't include any of this other 4x4. So the question the court has to answer: do we want to commit to adding another $100,000? This is exclusive of the digital video equipment.
Right.
You know, that's another $100,000 just by itself. Right? So if we do what we've talked about with the constables and add all his patrol vehicles and all the little frills that go with it, but no 4x4s and no digital stuff, we're talking about $100,000 and some odd right now out of general fund. So it's up to the court to decide how much do you want to commit to next year. That's it. It's real simple math.
And where's the money gonna come from?
General fund.
That's what I mean.
Now, this is all general fund money, but, you know, I think what we probably need to do is maybe kind of work backwards, say, you know what, we're willing to commit X amount of dollars per year, and then kind of fill in the blanks.
And that's, yeah, in the past, that's kind of the way it's been done, but this year, since everything's additional, that's why it was presented in this
Right.
format. It's never been done like this normally.
Let's come up with a figure and then go
Yeah,
back.
and I think that's what we need to do. I mean, I think that we need to go back and look at this and come up, maybe work with Javier and say, look, how much do you think we can absorb into the general fund next year without,
And then,
considering that we're going to have 1 or 2 courts that we're going to have to fund at some point, and how much do you want to add to the general fund?
This
I
is
mean-
just this list. This
No, I
doesn't
understand,
include
and then there's
the other
there's more out there.
requests
And
that
keep in
are
mind
out
that,
there.
you know, the sheriff's
Well, I
office.
think that we need to do and consider all the lists together. If we're gonna do the type of planning you're talking about
I think-
financially,
yeah.
I don't think you can take each one.
We can't separate
and,
them.
you know, you need to look at a total amount and what kind of commitment we are gonna be committing the next year's court to.
Right. I think, do you want to do it that way, where you maybe visit, each one of y'all visit with Javier and kind of give him your thoughts to where you think?
I'd
you
be a
know,
lot more
I mean, I have a
comfortable.
number in mind, okay, that I think that we can probably absorb, just through natural appraisal value increases and stuff, and maybe that's the number that we need to work towards, okay? And I would be very hesitant to support more than 200 to 250,000 per year in additional. And that's going to be, because think of when we went through this budget, I mean, even though it passed and we balanced and everything, but, you know, we really had to tighten our belts on some stuff. Okay? So I think, Javier, that this is just the law enforcement list. I think you need to compile, you know, the list for the whole thing. I mean, whatever everybody's equipment list is, then you all decide what you think. I mean, if you have a number of 300 and you've got 350 and I'm at 2, somehow maybe average it out, divided by 5. And that's the number that we have to spend. Whatever it is, it's something that we got to be prepared to commit to the
And then
next
go
year.
back to the drawing board on priorities.
Mr. Reyna, on that digital video equipment, I know that when the sheriff was here, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, and that item came up for discussion, I remember that there were some monies out there that he was going to utilize, like 98,000 or some amount.
Yeah, that was also before we hired 2 additional deputies and 1 additional dispatcher this fiscal year.
Okay, so
out of
then that
money.
got encumbered.
And also, I want to point out that the price on the server to operate the digital cameras was, I believe it went down from 140 to 20,000, something to that effect. So it's a lot lower, the cost is a lot lower than was presented to you all about 5 or 6 months ago.
But he was telling us at that point in time that he would consider committing some funds to that
Yes,
project.
You're correct, Judge.
You know,
Commissioner.
And those are not available anymore, those funds.
We can probably, I'm sure we would, maybe
Don't
about
stumble.
30,000.
Don't stumble. Just come out. How much
Maybe we
money
can
you got
pick
out?
up the $38,000 tab, and you all can pick up the $300,000 tab.
Well, no, we're talking.
We commit to 38,000. I mean, trying to help a little bit here.
I'm talking about annualized in payment. That's what I was looking at. You know, I wasn't looking at like for a one-time
lump sum.
You know, and that's what we had discussed with Sheriff Lucio was, you know, what would you be willing to help like on a yearly basis
Annually.
to that purchase? Because, you know, we're buying it all at one time, but we're paying it over the 3-year time, right, Javier? Right. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a big hit up front. It'd be like just budgeted for the next 3 years.
I'm sure if we sit down with Javier and
Would you please?
and we can find out a way where we could commit
Because I know that
to
we
some
need to
money.
move in the direction of that digital video processing and
Yeah,
storage.
you know,
because it saves you
we
time,
really do.
you know.
We have several vehicles that do not have cameras, and we've already had, we've been involved in some major accidents resulting in deaths where these cameras could have come into play. You know, we need them. We need these cameras.
And even your time in retrieving the information and all of that would be greatly reduced.
Yes, exactly.
So we need to really consider that particular item.
Just from the top of my head, we have 2 incidents already where the cameras and the units would have made a great deal of a difference I guess what I don't want to, I know Richard's raising some eyebrows if it was Richard.
Well,
we need these cameras to make sure that the evidence is recorded as the officer says it happened. And there's a couple of incidents that just from the top of my head where there was 2 fatalities already where our officers are involved. Okay, so we need these cameras to record evidence.
Well, it's very strong documentation.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
Consider that.
Okay.
Yeah, you consider that, it knocks everything else out, though, if you want to stay. Why don't we do this, is each of y'all just kind of meet, you know, maybe with Javier or each Javier, and just give them your thoughts to what, you know, as to what you think, and then we'll just bring it back in a couple of weeks At that time, bring the rest of the equipment list back to us.
Yeah, the rest of the list is actually due this Friday from all the departments.
I think it needs to be discussed in a totality of
Yeah,
thought.
I think so. All right?
That we have a better picture of what's going on. When you all applied for those grants, where you were able to successfully get those pickups?
Yeah, we purchased eight vehicles, off of that grant,
And those monies are not available anymore?
we also purchased a lot of cameras that our investigations division didn't have. We purchased new M16 rifles for our SWAT team, heavy tactical gear, very expensive eye shields, facial shields for our SWAT officers. We have very little money left, but nothing compared to these amounts.
But it's
And there's
nothing that
specific
you
use
can
for that
go
money.
after, I mean, you can continue to apply for?
We're still
You're still
looking for
applying?
money.
The reason I ask you, because if that was available to you all, maybe the constables as a whole could get together and apply for I mean, I don't know, I mean, law enforcement is different, but maybe that would be another option to help the constables out.
We're still looking for funds out there, and the judge is now the chairman of one of those.
I just told him to give you some money, man.
I know.
I hope so.
Well, unfortunately, it can't be used for something like that, but, okay. Well, let's do
something like what?
Like for what do you want? The digital. It's got to be Homeland Security or Border
Yeah,
Security.
that's what they use.
exactly.
Oh,
Okay.
hello.
It's used to that.
If that's what, well, he's applying, and we'll let you know when you can apply.
Sheriff's Department.
Oh, really? Well, I would think that you also help with the border security. Wouldn't you be able to apply to where the judge sits on that board?
Actually,
It's still only for sheriffs.
but, yes.
Mhm.
What- I think I might shed some light on this. When it comes to constables, if you look up the definition of your job description or whatever you want to call it, constables, really your main function is to serve warrants. And perhaps that's why you're not able to apply for grants. I know you do a lot more, and I appreciate it. I know that the constables in my precinct respond all the time when I call them. I realize you do more than that, but I'm telling you that might be one reason why you don't have a chance at grants, because of the fact that under, the state law or whatever, the powers that be, the constable is the one that is supposed to be serving warrants.
At the JP office.
At the JP office.
Well,
And a lot more is asked of you, and constituents expect a lot more of you, but I'm just shedding some light on that.
that's not the response that I got. The answer that I was given was that smaller agencies do not qualify. Nothing to do with the constables, nothing to do with municipalities. In general, I was told, smaller agencies do not qualify. There may be a certain amount of officers that the agency may need to have, or a certain population. I'm not sure. I didn't bother getting into the specifics, since they told me we didn't qualify for it. Yes.
Okay.
Well, in general, Cameron County has constable's office with more deputy constables than pretty much anybody in South Texas. I mean,
More JPs, too.
More JPs, but more in most constables in some of the neighboring counties have maybe one officer or one deputy constable, and they shift everything into the sheriff's department instead of having, because we've got, maybe like an average of 5 in each one of the departments in the constable's offices?
Well, if you're asking me if we can continue to look into it, I have an officer who does nothing but look into grants. That's all he does. He's not a paid officer. He's a reserve officer who is employed by the city. But every time that he runs across a grant that he believes that may apply to us, he always calls me and applies for it. We don't get them all, but we have gotten some that have certainly helped out. And that's what he's in charge of. So I guess my answer to you is we are trying. I do have someone that works that area, but we just haven't. We don't seem to get the large figures. And I understand that the sheriff's department has a very large department, so that most of these grants are handled through sheriff's departments or larger municipal departments. But we're trying.
Thank you for trying.
Okay, then, Javier, you're going to come back with us in a couple of weeks. And the reason a couple of weeks, I'm not going to be at Tuesday's meeting because I've got a security council meeting. But you want to bring it back maybe for the 11th? Or you want to bring back not only this list, but also all the equipment list? And in the interim, kind of visit, around with the court members and see what their thoughts are in terms of how much, they're thinking about committing.
Okay.
Okay? Don't ask them for their vote or anything like that, or this is kind of just sharing thoughts, okay? Is that okay, Richard? We can share thoughts?
Well,
You can share thoughts, you just can't get a consensus.
I would like for you to bring to us, or to me individually, to bring me the request and the totals and what they are reflective of as far as demands to the budget.
Okay. And I tell you what, might be a good idea with that. Give us the annual impact with, if we approve this, approve this. Kind of give us a, kind of a little matrix or something that we can follow. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I guess for now, I'd like to ask for tabling of the law enforcement vehicle equipment list.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 14, consideration approval for salary adjustment for the position of Cameron County Fire Marshal. Johnny, that's your item. You budgeted, you got to do the budget. Everything's done? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'd like to ask,
What is it?
Okay, let me ask for a motion and a second, then we can discuss it.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Discussion.
Johnny, on this, you're moving it up to 49,000. Why didn't you just bring it to 50,000?
Didn't have the money.
Well, that's a good question, Commissioner. I did.
What was the question?
What was the question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
He's being, the request is to bring his salary up to 49,000. The last time that you were here, you brought us different salaries that were being considered or that were being paid in different counties. And we have one man doing this job. He's certified. My question is, why would you not pay him 50,000 instead of 49,000?
The answer to your question, Commissioner, is boils down to the budget, the amount of money that I was able to put together using funds, existing funds available to emergency management. I would certainly I would not be opposed to the court to increase from that amount. I think the fire marshal is certainly a great employee, and I think that he does a very good job and certainly deserves more than that. The answer to your question is the available funds that I was able to put together with the existing budget that I have.
But don't these monies come from the Emergency Services District? Don't we contract with them so that we can provide this service?
Yes, ma'am. Some of these funds or do come, or let me rephrase that. We get funding from Emergency Services District to fund the fire marshal's office. Yes, ma'am. That is the case. It would be up to the court to decide really what amount they would like to, pay this position. But yes, that's a yes to your question, Commissioner.
So you're saying that we're within budget?
I'm sorry?
We're within budget, is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that the $70,000 that is provided by the Emergency Services District is absorbed into the Emergency Management Office for not only salaries, but for clerical and other things. And what I'm saying is that the $70,000 is totally committed, and that in order to fund even the $49,000, I would have to take some funds from, if and when the court approves it, from a contractual expense account, which is 6082. I would rather it come from outside the budget of the emergency management, but if that is not possible, then that's where I would ask that it be taken from. Half of the increase, and I hope I'm not confusing you, but half of the increase from his existing salary, I was going to ask it come from contractual expense, and the other 50% from funds that are available through employees' salaries, which is fund number or object number 6003 under my account. But certainly if the court would like to consider an alternate, preferably an increased amount, then I'd be certainly for it.
The money that you found to take him to 49 came from, you got with Javier, I assume, right?
Yes, I did.
You found the money to do that. Y'all couldn't find the extra $1,000 somewhere, or not even 1,000, it'd be less than that, because we're not for the whole year.
Well, at this point, Judge, because the funds are approximately 50% of the increase that I am suggesting that we do, is coming from would come from the contractual expense account under emergency management. $1,000, more wouldn't make any difference. The money's still coming from an account that it shouldn't come from, or but is available.
That shouldn't come from, in your opinion?
In my opinion, yes, ma'am.
Javier, are you okay with what the proposal is? As far as everything I heard, I don't understand. I don't understand where money comes from. I find it amazing that we find money somewhere.
If you look at the salary schedule, part of the increase is coming from two other slots, actually, that are there. Let me get to it real quick.
Slot 4 and slot 6. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Slot number 4 is being reduced from 27,780 to 26,000, and slot number
being reduced.
Reduced. That's what part
slot, not what the individual.
Right. They're making the 26,000.
Okay.
And slot number 6 is being reduced from 55,000 to 50,500. Okay, because that's what he's presently
So that's
making.
where you're finding that amount of money from.
Correct. And the rest, in speaking with Mr. Cavazos, there's two things I think that get charged to the contractual line item within his budget. One of the items is for I believe, a contract, I think it's Impact Weather?
For Shiner Mosley and Impact Weather.
And Impact Weather. The other one was Shiner Mosley. The Shiner Mosley amount varies from year to year. It depends on what services are requested of that firm.
And those services would be requested by your office, right?
Correct.
Mr. Cavazos?
That's correct.
Okay.
So it's
they're in the
within
right
his
place.
office. Yeah, within his office.
Right. And Impact Weather is the tool you use now for monitoring the weather process.
Right. That is correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I have a motion we already had a motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatz. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye of increasing the salary of 49,000.
Would that be retroactive to 9/1 when he was named the fire marshal?
I would also request that it be retroactive to the date that he was appointed fire marshal.
Can we do that, Richard? I don't think we can do that.
No, you cannot.
All right, that answers the question.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 15, discussion and possible action regarding the county, state, and federal legislative agenda. Nothing? Do I hear a motion to table? Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second by Commissioner Gatsa? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. God save this honorable court. And just so you all know, I will not be here on Tuesday. David, please take the meeting. Y'all do the thing, and I'll be doing other stuff.